Whoa, before the video starts, check out this merch. From dank meme to anime apparel, this store has everything. Up to 50% off included with free shipping. Link in the description below. r/AskReddit. People who had a teacher change their life. Who was your teacher and what did they do? Ms. O'Connor was my first truly eccentric teacher, and probably one of the first eccentric adults I had ever met. It was 8th grade, which I think is an early formative year in the transition into pre-adulthood. So timing was perfect for me to have her class. Here are a few things I still remember. 1. She would teach us some stuff that I now know is taught at a college level, but she didn't preface it with "this is college stuff." We just thought we were learning what we were supposed to learn, and even the dumb kids in class got most of it. Reflecting on that, I know now that people way overhyped learning. Like one time I didn't get promoted at work because there was something I didn't know how to do that the other internal candidate did. Then I set out and learned it on my own. Literally took me an hour to get the gist of it, and within a week, I was doing it very well. 2. She lived in a 3-story house with her daughter and granddaughter, and she had an intercom system installed so she could call down to her granddaughter to bring her stuff. Hilarious. 3. She was so go with the flow. One day, I came into class and she had a bunch of shit all over my desk. I just stood there, not knowing what to do. She asked why I was standing, and I told her there was stuff at my desk. She was like, "So, sit at my desk." And so all class long, I worked from the teacher's desk like that was normal. Not traditional teacher but the head instructor of the martial art I currently practice and teach. I had already joined the gym as a student, with my wife, ex now, but she actually was the one that talked me into it. I was enjoying my time there, but not really feeling very fulfilled by it. One of the reasons was that I was emo, too old to start, 27. One random day my wife and him were the only ones left at the school and he offered to take us to lunch. Was just casual, but conversation turned to how I felt we were too old to ever get to his level of skill. He asked us when we thought he started training. I guessed 7. He told me 35. He told me the story of how he always wanted to pursue martial arts. As a teen there was nothing near him. In his 20s he thought he was too old too. There was a studio in his town and he drove by it every day on his way to work wishing he started. Well, he moved a few times, finally settling in a place he would live for the majority of his life. Lo and behold, he passed another school every day for work. He told me he remembered at age 30 passing the school wishing he had just started a few years earlier when he moved to this town. He kept that job for years. Then he told me at age 35, on the same route home from work, he passed the school and he remembered wishing he had just stopped in when he was 30. He hit the next stoplight and had a light bulb moment. If I keep this job, 5 years from now, I'm going to be sitting at this light and wishing I started at 35. He immediately did a U-turn and went into the gym and signed up. 18 years later he ran his own school. It inspired me that it wasn't too late, and I became a teacher myself as a result of that conversation. A teacher once found that I was writing notes about sex in my notebook and passing it to my friends. Instead of getting me in trouble, she took me aside and found out I was seeing lots of stuff at home that I shouldn't have been. My parents were going through a split and there was a lot of turmoil in my life and no support. Thanks Mrs. Marchetti. My year 11 homeroom teacher, Miss Dobra. High school was difficult for me. I lacked drive and direction. My home life was a mess and I had the weight of my parents' wasted high school years projected onto me. I was battling anxiety, depression, binge eating and felt completely rudderless. Miss Dobra was always there for me to talk to. She knew I had potential and she didn't shy away from encouraging me to apply myself. But she was always there for me to talk to. She never judged. Fast forward 2 years. I finish high school but I don't sit all of my university entrance exams. I'm ashamed but I make a point of going back to the school once a year to see her. Despite now also being homeless, she still doesn't judge. 3 years later, my life has turned around and I sit my exams and begin university as a mature age student. She was so happy for me. It took me 5 years to complete my degree but unfortunately she moved interstate partway through and we lost contact. I wish I had the opportunity to show her my certificate. She'd be proud. Her love and faith in me has spurred me on in so many endeavors since I finished school. Graduating university was just the tip of the iceberg. I will never forget her. She's the closest thing I have ever had to a guardian angel. Teachers can truly make a difference in a kid's life. Red heart. I asked my music teacher why she wanted to be a high school music teacher. She said it was the best way to continue to learn and buy new instruments without having to sing nursery rhymes all day, implying that a high school teacher was a better prospect than a primary school teacher. I said on the offhand that singing nursery rhymes all day would be amazing, and she responded, "Do it then. Be a children's music teacher." And so I changed my plans after graduation from nursing to teaching, and I ducking love singing nursery rhymes with my students. My previous music teacher now plays in a rock band in festivals all over the world and is such a ducking badass. Thanks Woody, you were honestly the best teacher. AMD shaped me to be the person I am today. Edit. Wow, thanks for all the love and support guys. You have all just run away with the intrigue of this post, and you're all imaging a band why bigger, in terms of success, than it is. The Tomahawks are a rad bluesy grungy female group and deserve a peek at on Spotify. My personal fave song is Dopamine, but are not the festival headliners I think you are all expecting. They just wanna play music for people and drink beer. So sorry to disappoint on that front. Edit 2. Thanks for the silver and gold. Nice to know what inspired me is also inspiring to others. My high school shop teacher, Mr. Nelson. He would stop the class if someone came in late to tell everyone, "If I only teach you 3 things, I want them to be these: 1. Show up. 2. Show up on time. 3. Do your best." He taught me to work hard and take pride in the things I do and create. He also called all the return students master. Last name. My primary school principal. Right before my teen years I started acting out due to family home problems. No matter how many times I acted out, he treated me with absolute kindness, always above and beyond. I can't remember what I did to get sent to his office, but I'll never forget what he told me. "The best man you can be is a gentleman." He encouraged my love for writing and drawing, helped me submit a story, and was there when I won 2nd place. When I failed maths, he tutored me in his office after school. When I showed interest in music, he let me practice on his guitar. I am forever in his debt for making me the person I am. Edit. My first silver/gold. I am beyond thankful for your generosity and kindness. : Struggled with eating disorders in high school. Senior year my dad passed away and I spiraled. Had a meltdown in the middle of my English class. Teacher pulled me out into the hallway, gave me a hug and said, "Are you eating?" IDKY, but it snapped me out of it, and that is the first time I realized people noticed or cared. She probably doesn't know this, but I'm sure she saved my life. Edit. Didn't expect so many replies. Looks like I need to get to writing. I went through abuse as a kid. My dad would beat me. He usually would use an extension cord or belt, but sometimes a slap if lost his temper suddenly. One time he hit me harder than he should have and half bruised cheek with a cut. My 8th grade science teacher asked me what happened. I was an expert at excuses. I told him I get elbowed after basketball. He told me to come back at the end of the day, and I told him I couldn't, I had to go right home. Which I did. If he wasn't at work and I wasn't right home after school, he'd go apeshit. He pulled me into the hallway and talked to me about abuse. It's not okay. It's not my fault. That summer I grew a ton and stood up to him. My dad stopped when he saw I wasn't going to take it anymore. Mr. J didn't solve my problem, but hearing somebody gave a shit about me helped me a lot. 11th grade English teacher. He is the reason I didn't drop out. He was extremely gay. As an angry teenage boy, that bothered me. I was sort of a skinhead. I had a shitty home life and he was the only person that really cared. This was 19 years ago in the rural south, so it wasn't too common to be openly gay, especially not a teacher. I didn't like him because he was gay and I didn't like that, and his mannerisms pissed me off. I refused to acknowledge him or do any of his work. I never went to school and was always skipping and failing, but he was the only teacher that would let me make up the work, and I was like, "Stop being weird." I didn't say that, but I thought it. Then when I went to class like 2 times in a row, I actually liked the topics he was teaching, so I took mild interest, so I started doing the makeup work because I liked it. I stopped showing up for class again, and when I did show up he made a big deal about it and moved me to the front, and I was like, why? And he's like, sometimes the annoying kids are the ones you miss the most because it's something to entertain in this hellhole. I got to know him better and he basically became like a counselor to me and stopped me from dropping out and fixed my attendance. After that I would bring him cakes and cookies for holidays and stuff, and I would grade papers for him. But then my senior year, every day I would eat lunch with him, which wasn't cool because I was popular. He would talk shit about all the students and teachers he didn't like, and I would too. He wrote me a great recommendation letter that got me into all 8 colleges I applied to. He also taught me to love people and not hate them. If it wasn't for him I'd probably be in prison right now for some kind of violent crime. I was going through an extremely hard time my last year of high school and my mother was dying. Since I was basically flunking out, I had one of my free periods taken away and had to take another elective. Decided on a level 1 cooking class with all freshmen. It was taught by my old English teacher who I was very fond of 2 years prior. Learning how to make pie crust with her didn't change my life, but her open ear and thoughtful remarks made me realize I had to get it together. I wanted to be like her, a kind, thoughtful woman and beautiful homemaker. On one of the last days of school I was told I probably wouldn't be graduating. I was wandering the halls after school that day and found her in her classroom, and I broke down to her. She told me everything I needed to hear and ended up convincing the principal to let me graduate. I'll never forget the graciousness she showed me and the motherly love and compassion I was desperate for. I love seeing her around town, and one day will get the courage to tell her how much she really means to me. Red heart. I had a teacher change my life, not because they were good, but my 5th grade teacher got fired a couple months into the school year for being and posting on unapproved Catholic school sites. Because of that our class went through a wild year of only having substitute teachers for like a week, then the next week a new one. It was terrible. They retaught the same thing very weak. So I pretty much didn't have a 5th grade. So I was behind. Which I already was cause I have a learning disability. So I was the stupid kid. That year was the final straw for my parent to finally move me to a specialized school. Because I was so far behind. And that school I switched, all the teachers were amazing. I was finally able to read my first real book in the 6th grade. Because I was finally taught a way I could learn. And my parents say if the 5th grade was a shit show of a year I might have stayed at that school too long and been even more behind. So my teacher being on rated sites saved my future. He actually believed in me. Most of my teachers before didn't care and didn't form the connection with their students that he did. I came in after a week out with the flu and he gave me an entire packet he made just so I wouldn't fall behind. We talked often of video games. Edit. Thank you all for the upvotes and comments. Made my day. My German teacher made me realize that I was being bullied by a boy. I thought he just didn't like me. She talked with me and made me realize that the things that he said to me were not okay. My kindergarten teacher saw me struggle with spelling the word together. She told me to spell it to get her. I'm in my 40s and still spell it like that. The things that stick with us. I had a teacher who, I'm pretty sure, was a Black Panther teaching US history. Best class ever. He takes about the root causes for issues. For example, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor because the US had cut off oil to Japan and they needed for their expansion plans. They knew if they took the Philippine oil the US would attack, so they took a risk and hit first, going to cripple the 6th Fleet. Admiral Yamamoto famously said it was a mistake that would awaken a sleeping dragon. He was right. This dude was like 4 feet 9 inches and walked around campus with the stride of a 6'6" baller. Mr. McClure was an absolute badass and I loved every minute of his class. I bought him a copy of Public Enemy's Apocalypse 91 at the end of school because I knew he'd love it. Thanks homie, you made a difference. Edit. Yes, the Pearl Harbor thing was just an example that I remember. My point was that he went beyond the simple black and white history I had encountered to that point. Kinda sorry I mentioned it now. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking mad lad. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. It's free and that's a great price.